Chopin list.
Chopin list?
Do you know where I found it?
Where did you find it?
In the Cyprus Legacy box.
Cyprus Legacy?
Cyprus Legacy. And you know who did it? That bloody Will.
Oh, Will.
He's back. I keep finding this everywhere. I'm going to shove this box where the sun
Well,
does...
speaking of shoving things where the sun doth not shine, we have conjured this up from Will. It is a game of Sorcerer.
The editor
Please
here,
stop doing that.
whilst they do that, let's move on to the game.
Chopin list, Chopin list, Chopin list, Chopin list, Chopin list, Chopin list.
Yes. Well, we're not worthy, you know. You said you were good at these deck
I didn't
building
say I was
games.
good at them, but I have a decent knowledge of them.
Well, clearly that's shown in your gameplay.
Oh, there we go. So we played Sorcerer, the deck building game by White Wizard Games. And Jenny, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Thoughts?
So, immediately, first thing I really liked about it, I like the artwork, I like the detail in the artwork. A couple of things I found really difficult. I don't like having to read lots of things, and you have to read lots of things in this game. You have to play it a few times. Every time I played it, it's got a bit easier. One of the things that, because we played it with 3 players and we played it with 2, with 3 players having to play to your left and to your right, that was a bit of an interesting concept. I like it. I would play it again, but it hasn't changed me to suddenly go out and want to buy a deck building game. But that said, I won't say I don't dislike it. I just say I don't really like it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's not a meh from you. It's alright.
It's alright.
It's not really the kind of game that you like. Maybe.
Correct. And I think it suits some gamers like this type of game. It's a very thinking game. It's a very tactical game. It's a very gotcha game. It's all of those things that I, as a player, don't like, and I don't like those types of games. I like to be really immersed in it and just feel like, you know, if we're playing something like Arcadia Quest, that you're going through the dungeon, you're trying to find it, or Imperial Sword, that you're attacking those stormtroopers. With this, I just felt removed from it. And I know you played it, and I know Will's played it, and you feel slightly differently. That was my view, and that's not taken away from the game. It's a good game.
It's always like just a personal opinion, right?
It's a personal opinion.
So I understand what you're saying on that. From my perspective, one thing I really enjoy about this game that makes it different to other kind of deck building games that I've played, there's a lot of variety in here. So you can actually have various different kind of decks to build up from the beginning. You have to choose like a character, you have to choose a kind of a class, and then a location for them. And depending on where they are, that depends on what cards you have in your deck. There's a lot of strategy involved, like you'd said.
Yeah.
Negatives for me, I think there was a lot to kind of cram in when you first start learning this game. I think once you play this a few times, it's easier like most games, but the art was great, but the board you have, it would have been really nice. It tells you how the turn structure is based, but it'd be very nice if you had some kind of player aid, like just a little player aid. Now these games don't tend to come with player aid, so just even having like the turn order on the board in front of you, that was pretty good.
But you say that, but if you look at something like a basic game like Pokemon, which I played with my youngest, when you get the Pokemon game, it does the board itself is the player aid, and it gives you all that information. That
You've got the
need
tableau
to
and
see.
stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think actually when you get into it, it's any much more complicated than something like Pokemon.
No, it really isn't.
But it overwhelms you to the point that you sort of feel like, oh, I don't know. I just don't know if I like it.
So I think you're a really good kind of litmus test for this, really, aren't you? Because like I'm someone who's played quite a few deck building games. Will's played a ton of these things, and you've not really played many of them. So I guess from a kind of a starter point for these kind of games, this isn't like an entry level kind of deck building game.
Yeah, and I like Pokemon, and I played that a few times, but they're not my games.
Yeah,
and they're not my genre. What I did like was the mechanic of when you did attack another player, you attack their other sort of monsters or minions first, and then you were detracting from the street you're in, and that's how you won. I liked that concept. I thought that was a brilliant concept. I thought you're basically trying to defend it yourself, and that was great. But I just found it way too overbearing and way too complicated for me. So it's not very often I get up here and go, oh yeah, it's really not a great game or it's not fantastic. It's not a bad game. It's just not my game.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Component-wise, it's great though. The dice are really nice. They're kind of like custom engraved dice. They're pretty cool. There's some dice rolling here, which makes it a bit more random. Overall, from my perspective, out of deck building games that I played, this is up there. It's a pretty solid game. The strategies are good in it. I think maybe some of the expansions that we were playing with today anyway, maybe not as balanced as they could be. They might not have had as much playtesting. But base game stuff, it's probably all really, really kind of straight and balanced. Yeah. So we're going to rate Sorcerer using their custom engraved dice. Here at Die Rolling, we don't believe in just giving an arbitrary score out of 10 or something. We judge each game on their own merits, using potentially components which are involved in the game. So on here, what have we got, Jamie? What are on the dice?
So we've got a blank, which is awful, truly awful, never play it again. And I think a star is the highest accolade, and then they've got a 1 and a 2.
A skull and 2 skulls kind of thing. Yep.
So I think that's where the scoring goes. I think for me, and this is really personal opinion.
Controversial.
I know. I'm just gonna blank it, and I know that is an awful thing to say, but it is not my type of game. I didn't really enjoy it. I think if it came to the table, I'd play it, but I'd probably argue to play something else. And I
have a question for you. Is this better or worse than Aegis?
This is worse than Aegis. I think if I had the choice between Sorcerer and Aegis, I would play Aegis. And actually, I'm going to go one step further. I think if I had the choice between Sorcerer and Fallout, I'd play Fallout. I wouldn't really. I'd play Sorcerer. But then in Fallout, that's a negative game in my opinion anyway.
Okay. I'll take on board what you're saying. I think from a deck builder's perspective, this is probably... I'd go for like a 2 skull on this. I think there's a lot in here. There's a lot of kind of variation in the game as well, a lot of variety, sorry. So no one game is going to be the same as the last one you played. And what's really cool is you have these lanes that you're actually playing on. So if in a 3-player game, for instance, you're fighting people to your left and your right. So you've got to really have a think about it. But it's not for everybody. It's not if it's the first deck building game you're playing, it's probably not for you. But for someone who's a bit more experienced with deck building games, you would go, there's a lot of good games out there, but this is pretty good.
And Will would put it as a star.
Would Will put it as a star? Yes, Will would put it as a star. Star being the highest
accolade.
So it's a critical hit for Will.
So we are
Die Rolling.
Make sure you catch us on
Facebook,
YouTube,
Instagram,
and if you want those notifications,
ring the bell and
subscribe!